Hi, this is Erin from BlossyB. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to test out some new molds that I recently purchased from TEMU. I'm going to use some incredibly fast curing polyurethane resin from Solid Solutions and show you how I've been able to make some beautiful pieces in just minutes. I'm also going to use their lush pearl mica powders, UV resin and gloss varnish to finish them off. If you haven't checked out my previous video, I'll leave a link in the description box because I got what I think could be the biggest lot of orders from TEMU ever. It was wonderful, lots of beautiful molds and other bits and pieces, but it's the molds we're going to focus on today because look at them. I have so much to choose from. So as usual, in my head when I'm looking at a new mold, I'm thinking, do we go epoxy resin? Do we go eco casting powder? But this time I've had the luxury of using another product. This is Solid Solutions polyurethane casting resin. It's a very quick set formula. It's a 1-to-1 volume and you've got a working time of about 2 to 2.5 minutes and it will be cured in 15 to 45 minutes depending on the temperature where you are working. It is a 1-to-1 by volume ratio. I really don't like working with volume. I would much rather work with weight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to weigh each of the brand new containers so that I know what is in them in grams. And then I'm going to work out the ratio from that. So to just double check my measurements, I'm also going to mix up a teeny tiny little batch and I'm going to use a paddle pop stick in each that I've marked a level on. It's just a random level and this will help me then have an identical amount in each cup and then I can weigh them and this will hopefully back up my maths for working out the ratio. So for this first pour, I end up having 40 grams of part A and 46 grams of part B. So I'm going to combine them both now into a cup and this is where the minute B touches A, you have between 30 to 60 seconds of stirring time and then you've got around about 2 minutes to get it into your mould. Now this comes up as a sort of a honey colour, amber colour, and it will lighten considerably as it cures and you can start feeling it warm up in your hand. It is very, very rapid and unfortunately I think I'd started moving things a bit quickly, so I did have a little bit spill over here and there, but I'm using the fish mould. I think they look really sweet and I can't wait to see what they look like. The little jungle animals mould and then the heart mould. So we'll just see. I only have to wait about 20-25 minutes and it's time to check out what they look like. So you'll see they've changed colour and this first heart, this was only literally drips into the mould, so it's very thin, but it's so pretty. So this polyurethane resin in its natural state will colour much lighter than when it's first poured and it's so pretty. It's got a beautiful sheen to it. Not like resin and not like eco resin. It's a different. It's just lovely. And look at this cuties. I'm loving these. Now I did have some overpour on these, which I'm just able to pick little bits off. They're very easy, wafer thin. And look at all the detail though that these have picked up. And this is half an hour after I got all of my materials out. I'm demolding and showing you these. camera had stopped recording just for a minute while I was demolding these, but here they are, the two fish. These are super chunky. They're way too chunky actually for what I'm going to use them for. And it's still nice though to be able to see how they turn out. And if you know me, I just want to do it again. So this time I'm going to attempt to colour the resin, the polyurethane resin, and I'm going to use the Solid Solutions pearl powders to do this. Chosen the colour Coastal Breeze because I feel like this is just such a stunning bluey green, and I'm measuring out using my little micro measuring spoons. Two of these, I think these ones are a tad, so these are 1/4 teaspoon, and I'm going to just blend that into the part A. And the reason I'm doing this is because when I add part B, I haven't got time to be worrying about colour mixing in. I'm barely having enough time to mix the product in. So I want to make sure that the pigment powder is really beautifully blended in before part B comes anywhere near it. And then that means that I've got the maximum amount of working time with them combined. Oh, watching this now, I realise what a mess I'm making. But I go ahead and I pour the same moulds again, and I just really want to see whether the colour comes out consistently, whether it affects curing time, whether it affects the feel of it at the end or anything like that. Less than half an hour later, I am able to demold these, and I am just so impressed. These solid solution pigments, the pearl mica powders, are just beautiful, but this polyurethane resin blended with them, it's giving me something that I just didn't think I'd be able to achieve. It is so glossy. Oh, look at the back. That just shows what happens if you use a shiny mould. So they're just so glossy and such a beautiful satin finish, those ones. So let's have a look now at our little zoo animal pieces. And again, just those tiny little fragments of overpour. That comes down to me not using perhaps a small enough vessel and getting close enough to the mould, but honestly they're so easy to clean up. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with these yet. I think I mentioned in the unboxing section I was really thinking these were many times larger, and they're teeny tiny. I guess they could be little tiny fridge magnets, or I could incorporate them into larger projects. And then look at these hearts. This is with a glossy mould. They are just so beautiful. The only little thing that I'm wondering about is that on each of these cured heart pieces, there is a little pale white circle. And I don't know where that came from. I'm wondering, is it where I first started pouring? Is it in the mould? I have no idea. Very mysterious. By now, I'm just having so much fun, I really couldn't stop if I wanted to. I'm just loving it. It's actually getting very late at night as well. Now I'm making up a double batch, and I'm going to use this Duo Red Blue, and I'm making up 2 cups. So I've got 1 cup of part A already poured off to the side, and then this one. I'm adding in the same amount that I did before. And then I'm going to use a second colour, and I actually got 2 out to choose from. I've got the beautiful Cobalt Crush, and then I've got Lagoon Blue. And I decided in the end to go with Lagoon Blue as it's a little bit lighter, and I think it will work really well with the Red Blue duo. So this is really starting to push things with regards to timing. So I now need to add in the appropriate amount of part B to each of these cups after I've blended in the powder and made sure it's all mixed beautifully. And so I know I'm going to have to be very precise with what I'm doing and very careful. And yeah, this is probably the biggest mess I've had so far. Makes sense, doesn't it? And this time I also want to try and use a different mould. And this is the little insect or garden, yeah, let's call it the garden mould. So we've got a butterfly, a bee, a flower and a ladybird. And I've also got my fish there because I want to see them here. And look at this technique, just slopping it in. We could just call this the BlossyB slop method. Anywho, look, I get it in there, and that's the main goal when you're working with these polyurethane resins. You just have to get it in. Otherwise, you end up with a gloopy mess. At least if you mess up, you don't have long to wait to see what it looks like. So I am just in love with these. They are so pretty. The two colours have combined so well. They just add that little extra touch of detail. So again, that beautiful satiny finish that this polyurethane resin gives you. And just, yeah, so happy. Again, when you look at the backs of these, they are so stunning because the combination of the polyurethane resin and these pearl powders give you the most beautiful shimmer. So here we've got a little bit of that overpour, but mostly it's just easy to pull off with your fingers, and then anything that's not, you can just go around afterwards with a little craft blade, an emery board, or something similar. So here's our little butterfly, and I think that's beautiful. Lots of gorgeous detail in there. Then next we have the little flower, and that is so pretty. I love the way the two colours is blended there. I'm so pleased with this particular experiment because now I know I can blend two or more, dare I say it, colours together with the polyurethane resin, and I didn't know that. Well, disclaimer, I have used polyurethane resin before and it didn't go brilliantly, but it was my fault. So I'll actually link that video in the description box because it's kind of hilarious. I end up with a fizzing sort of a volcano scenario, and yeah, it's taken me this long to try it again. And look at the ladybird. I'm loving this mould. This is so cute. So the little bee as well. I am super happy with all of these pieces. They are bright, they just are vibrant, and they feel amazing to the touch. They're just so shiny and yeah, just lovely. I just want to keep on experimenting. So I'm quite interested to see if I can get a consistently white product. I'm going to use the Snow White Pearl Mica powder from Solid Solutions, and I'm mixing up a half batch of the polyurethane resin this time, but I'm going to be using the same amount of pigment as previously, so it's like a double the pigment. So 2 of these little spoons. I'm going to mix part A and the pigment powder all together, and when I feel that that is mixed up well enough, I'll add in the part B, and then quickly, of course, being polyurethane resin, pour it into the moulds. So I really just want to use the hearts for this one and see what the result is. And I do have a teeny little bit left over, so I'm going to use that little zoo animal mould again. I just can't get enough of these little characters. They're so cute. And then 30 minutes time, we'll have a look and see whether these are a white colour or whether I need to go further or try a different pigment. The speed that this polyurethane resin cures with is just incredible. So I'm now comparing the first pour and this pour, and honestly, I'm not getting a huge amount of difference. Yes, they are white, but it's more of a creamy white, not a brilliant white. And whilst I love them, I still have in the back of my head, I wonder if I can get a really crisp white. So, got so many of these little cute pieces now to do things with, and I'm loving everything. My last little project for this video is going to be using the Capybara molds, and now I'm really going to push things. I'm going to be using a double mixture, double the amount of before. The first pigment I'm using is Reflective Rust from Solid Solutions, and it is a stunning pigment. The second colour I'm using is Royal Gold, and again, just beautiful. And I think these two colours will blend and contrast really well together and be beautiful and shiny. At least this is what I'm hoping, of course. Now I'm going to try and pour both at once into the two Capybara molds, the large one and the small one. And I know that this is going to be tricky because I've got double the mixture of before. But I really do want to see what the limits are, what my limits are. So after giving them a good mix, not that good, but good enough I hope, I'm now pouring in. I did have a little bit of spill, and because you're just constantly aware of the time, but that's okay. And then next I'm going to fill in the little Ladybug molds, and then I've also got this little shell mold. Now, right as I'm pouring that starfish, the game changed. It was done. So this is the mess you get when you are not fast enough with your polyurethane resin. It just cures so quickly. Not upset. I got the main pieces done, so all good. Now I want to move on to the little bunny mold, and for this one I've chosen the colour Blush, and I'm hoping that this will be a really pretty pale pink, and I am using way less in this than I have before. I'm using the next size spoon down and only 1 spoon. I'm going to mix this in thoroughly, and then I'll be able to add in part B. And so far this method of mixing pigment colouring into part A before mixing with part B seems to be going really well. So I'm going to fill the little bunny mould first, and then I've got this little dragon on a moon, just a couple of the little hearts, and then finishing off here with some of the seashells and an oval. And then very quickly thereafter, I am able to just start demoulding everything. So the little oval came out super cute. These shells, I really love some of them. The starfish was the one which had the resin that was actually curing going into it. So that one, not so good. But I'll try it again and just see how we go. These are the little ladybirds, and they've come out quite cute too. I love how this polyurethane resin is so glossy when it's in a shiny mould. We've got some hearts. Now I think I can see a little bit of white in some of these. Yes, I can. And that is possibly unmixed resin. So I need to be careful about that. I think that whilst you have to be very quick mixing, obviously you need to be very thorough as well. Yeah, here's our little dragon sitting on the moon, and he's so sweet. Lots of little overpour there. When I poured this one in, it just oozed over everywhere. I need to do this much more slowly next time. Okay, time to check out the first of the Capybara molds, and this is the smallest one, and I'm just in love. This is just so glossy and shiny and beautiful, so I can't wait to see what the larger one looks like. And because I've used the same mixture in both, they do look like a pair, which is really lovely. So again, he's gorgeous. I'm really happy with these. No bubbles, just perfect. Now, this is our little bunny. And as I'm pulling this out, I can see that this is a matte mould. And I'm not in love with the mould, but you know, this is could be cute for some people. And lots of little details there. But I am drawn back to the two Capybara moulds, and the pieces I've made from this I just think are so gorgeous. I'm loving the fact that I can blend two colours with the polyurethane resin, and now I've got quite a bit of work to do. Apologies for the dappled sort of lighting, it's early in the morning. I'm now going to use this polyurethane gloss varnish from Solid Solutions. This is going to be the first time I've ever used this, and it is such a cost-effective varnish. It's on special at the moment, plus I've got a discount on top of that for you, which all the details will be in the description box below. So have you read the book or even just seen the cover of the rainbow fish? I can't get this image out of my head now after making these dear little fish, and so I'm going to use the polyurethane varnish mixed with some different glitters to try and recreate that type of look. I'm going for bright and sparkly and yeah, just some underwater magic. The main colour I plan on using is silver, which is going to be Resin's Laser Silver, which is a gorgeous sparkling holographic silver, very fine glitter. And I'm just using a tiny little brush here to apply it into the grooves of the little fish pieces, and it's just so easy to apply. I do know though I have to take my time. I need it to be very neat, and it's going really well so far. So I'm going to just continue adding in different colours and just experiment and see which colourways I really like. And part the way through, I realised that I've got some pairs going on, and I do like things that are in pairs, so like symmetrical, and so I start to sort of pay attention to that as well, just checking that I've got one of each. And I was also going to mention the wonderful thing about using this polyurethane gloss varnish is that it doesn't need anything else over the top of it. It's water resistant, it's dry in just a couple of hours, it's impact resistant, and it looks great. So I'm really happy with this technique, and so far I am loving this product. I've got a few more ideas in the back of my head to test it out with, but so far so good. Now here's our little dragon sleeping on a little moon, and I decide to keep using some of this glitter and varnish mixture and just add a few little decorations to him. Not a lot, just popping in a little bit of colour on his scales, doing his horns, his tail, things like that. So I wanted to see whether you could also, it's not quite painting with this, although I guess you could, but it's going on well and it's staying on well. And if you watched a couple of videos back where I was working with the Resin Moulds box clock mould for the November box, oh my goodness, I did not have fun with varnish in that video, but so far this experience is great. I'll finish up now because then I'll show you what we've ended up with when I move on to the next step. While I'm waiting for the varnish to dry, look at these. These are the Australian Animals UV DTF stickers, and I'm going to choose a few and cut them out and place them onto these heart and oval pieces. Now these, some of them of course have the little holes in it, but I've done similar before where I've actually just placed the sticker over the hole and it's worked really well. It just sort of, you can pretend it wasn't really there in the first place. So I'm going to just trim as much as I can around. Then all you do is peel off the back layer and then you'll be left with a very strong adhesive. You apply that, and then once you've smoothed that down, you can then peel up the top sheet of protective plastic, and then you're left with a very durable, hard-wearing, bright image. It's a little bit odd for me to be working with pre-made UV DTF stickers. You know, they're going great. I normally design my own and have them printed on large gang sheets, and then they're completely custom for me. But this is a great way of getting some really bright images to embellish your made pieces, and so far so good. When all the pieces are completed, I'm now going to start using another brand new product to me from Solid Solutions, and this is their UV resin. And check out the size of this bottle. I'm loving it. It feels like I don't have to be super careful with it, and it's a really good price as well. And you know, with that extra 10% discount off the top of the special, it's, why wouldn't you? So I've had to wait until evening to do this part because I don't want to have a situation where the light coming in from outside is going to cure the resin before I'm ready. And so I'm just going to use a little tool and push the UV resin to the edges. When I'm happy with that, I'm going to go over with a little torch, make sure that any bubbles can be encouraged to come out. And then I'm going to use my UV lamp to cure them. So I do give them each couple of sessions. I've got a 99-second setting, and I think I did 2 or 3 for each of these, and they are looking so gorgeous. I know I did say that I've done my last casting for this video, but I was thinking about the little animals and how I could actually use those. And so I'm wondering if I could make up some little circles using this mould and have them sitting on it like a little embossed fridge magnet. So I've mixed up similar colours to before, and I'm just going to try and pour them in. And this is the worst mess I've made. It's horrific. I don't know where I really, just everything was starting to go wrong. So the cups that I'm using just don't give me enough control. And as soon as I started experiencing that, I was like, I just don't care. I've just got to get it in, get it done. And so I get a paddle pop stick and I scrape any of the extra over and just do what I can. You really don't get much time. Anyway, here we are about 25 minutes later. They are fully cured, and this part is so much fun. All of that overpour has now cured into this super fine film. And do you guys have this wherever you live around the world? Did you get sunburnt when you were little? And did you peel the sunburn off? Sorry if that's a bit cringe-inducing, but it was sort of what we did in Australia, and it feels like that. It's like you're peeling away that skin. Anyway, I get these all off and separated, and then all I do is I go around the edge of each of them with an emery board, and I just almost it's dusting off that edge, and then I'm left with these cute little discs. Probably a little plain for jungle animals, so I go and find some water slide decals. Now, this is just part of a very huge stash I have of these. So the idea is that these are on a backing that when you apply water to them, they will come away from that. There's lots of different ways of applying them, but this is my preferred way. And I've chosen some that look a bit tropical, jungly, bright, things like that. So a combination of flowers, butterflies, and plants. And what I do, I trim off all of the little tiny registration marks, the little black pieces on the corner and the numbers, and then I take away the clear protective sheet, and then I just sit them in a dish of water. Between about 1 and 2 minutes later, you can just give it a little wiggle and the water slide decals will start floating off, and then you can apply them using a pair of tweezers. So here are my little animals. I'm going to go through and try and find a perfect disc for each of them, just thinking about their colour and the background. Then I'm just going to go fishing with tweezers for water slide decals. So they're all just floating in my little dish there, and all I do is take them out, make sure they're round the right way. One side will be bright and colourful and the other side will be dull. So you want the bright side facing up, and then I just place them onto each of the discs. It's super simple and you get a really good result. It is time consuming. I will warn you, you have to be very patient. This probably took me about 45 minutes in total with trying different sheets and using different pieces and getting them on, chasing them around, and I find it super relaxing, and I really like the fine details and, you know, designing these little backgrounds for my animals. So I'm going to fast forward through and then I'll show you the end result. Here they are after the water slide decals have dried, and they're looking really cute. Just adds a little bit of extra interest and dimension to them. And now it's time to attach magnets to the back of them, and I'm going to be just using super glue and some heavy duty magnets and popping the glue on, squishing the magnet down, trying to make sure I don't put them too close to each other so they slide all over the place. I've had this happen so many times when I'm working with magnets. You think that you've glued it down and then you look back and it's drifted off closer to the next magnet. So just have to keep your eye on them. And after I've finished these pieces, I'm going to go ahead and put magnets on the backs of all the other little pieces that I wanted to turn into fridge magnets. And I'm just covering my entire workspace with magnets, getting them all done at once. Now, I do want to let you know about my relationship with Solid Solutions. So, as with several other companies, I am an affiliate with them, and my understanding is that for complete transparency, which I always would want to do anyway, I need to make that clear. So what happens is when you use my code BlossyB with Solid Solutions, you get a 10% discount over and above what their current prices are. So they've got their Black Friday sale on. But then I also earn a small commission from that. Now that commission, I've chosen to use that in products so I can actually show you more products like this polyurethane resin and like the varnish and the UV resin and things like that. And I feel very lucky to be able to have that relationship with an Australian company that are supporting me as I try and grow my business and expand my knowledge and share it with you. The fact that they also offer my subscribers a discount and a little bit of insight into new products coming out and things like that, and allowing me to share that with you is amazing for me, because I want to try and help you and support you, because everyone who's watching my videos means so much to me. And I know you hear it all the time, but I do believe when YouTube creators say that, they mean it, because otherwise we're talking to nobody. We're sharing our work with nobody. And so I don't ask for likes or subscribes anymore. I made a decision a couple of months ago that I would try not to. It hasn't been going great for me, because I'm finding that the likes and the subscribes have dropped off. But I'd prefer people do that because they genuinely want to, that they're happy with what they've watched, they want to see more, that sort of thing. I'm definitely always encouraging comments, because that's the way I'm growing as well. I'm learning so much from you, figuring out how to do things better, what could I change, and things like that. I feel so lucky that I've been able to start using products that are really high quality. When I first started, I was using just all sorts of bits and pieces, and it does take a while to find the products that you feel really comfortable with and that you would be happy to recommend and that are safe for you and a good price, all those things. So I really feel that this is happening for me at the moment, that I'm finally starting to have a few key products that I'm absolutely in love with and that I can highly recommend. And there's part of me as well that quite likes the fact that they're not all the usual, So sometimes when you're learning how to do things like resin craft and you're watching all these amazing channels, and, often they're all using one or two of the really big brands that are available in the US or the UK or Europe, and we don't always have access to that. And I also love the fact that I often watch channels in the UK and the US that are using their local brands and promoting them and finding great experiences with them. So I guess it's the circle of resin love. It all comes together. Okay, so with these little magnets, now my next step is to attach the little animals to the pieces, and I'm just going to use some B7000 glue to adhere the pieces together, and then I'm going to use the Solid Solutions UV resin to put a protective top coat over the waterside decals and around the little animals. My experience so far has been that the UV resin adheres very well to the polyurethane resin. So that's another little experiment in my head I can tick off. And I wanted to ask if there are any things you would like me to trial with the polyurethane resin. Please let me know in the comments. I've got in my mind the fact I would like to see if I can get a bright white result with the polyurethane resin. I'm also very interested in working out a better system of pouring to be really precise, but to still be able to get a fairly good volume of resin into a mould quickly. So a couple of questions I've got, but I'd love to hear any that you have. I have also been wondering if, like with eco casting powder and epoxy resin, you can add leftover bits, so little scraps or bits that you might trim off, etc., waste, whether you can add those back in to create volume in a new item. I'm a bit cautious about trying that because I'm wondering about the heat. The heat generated by polyurethane resin when it's curing is incredible. It is hot. So I'm just wondering whether that might not be such a good idea, but you never know. I'll find out. So this is the step I was mentioning with the UV resin, and I'm just going to go around very carefully, placing the UV resin onto the top of the waterside decals, and then I'm just going to use a toothpick to ease it to the edges and get all around into the little detailed parts before giving it a little spot cure with my UV torch. And then in sets of 5, I'm going to cure them with the UV lamp. In a moment, I'll show you some photographs of all of the finished pieces, and I'm really happy with them. I can't believe I've been able to make so much in such little time. I think my favourite are the capybaras, but I don't know, I'm loving all the magnets as well. Hard to choose. So all of the items I've used today, I will put links for in the description box. If you want to check out the moulds in more detail, make sure you watch my previous video where I unbox them and I go through each of them one by one. If you would like to check out Solid Solutions for yourself, I'm linking their site in the description box also. And remember that all of the products I've used today are currently on sale in their Black Friday November sale. You've got a few more days. And the 10% discount code of BlossyB goes on over and above that. So if you see something on special for 50% off, it will take another 10% off that price. And I'm so grateful that you're able to join me today. I really appreciate it. This has been incredible. I've learned a lot and I'm just excited to see what your comments are, particularly if they have suggestions for things I could try next with polyurethane resin, because I could just be a tiny weensy little bit addicted. Next video, you'll get to see all of the beautiful pieces I make using Solidcrete, their eco casting powder. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye for now.